Donald Trump is spending his day attacking the bipartisan border deal because he thinks that whining is a winning issue for him. Donald Trump is yet again attacking E. Jean Carroll, where a federal jury in the state of New York just awarded E. Jean Carroll $83 million in her defamation case after she was previously awarded $5 million back in May, where a jury found that Donald Trump sexually assaulted her and defamed her. Donald Trump is also attacking New York Justice Arthur Engoron as he is on the verge of making a ruling in the New York Attorney General civil fraud case against Donald Trump, where Trump will likely get hit with a verdict in the range of $370 million to $500 million. And Donald Trump is attacking the New York Attorney General and overall just acting like a maniac, sending post after post in capital letters. Let's just take a look at what Donald Trump is saying and doing, and then let's show some other kind of video clips to round out some of the context here. Here's Donald Trump posting a Breitbart article about E. Jean Carroll. This is one of the tactics of Donald Trump and his legal team. You know, Breitbart will write something and then they'll try to cite Breitbart as evidence in the case. For example, Breitbart cited some like random right-wing extreme account on social media to make up something about Justice Arthur Engoron's law clerk. And then Donald Trump's legal team said, "We've read many articles that are talking about this conflict of interest." And Justice Arthur Engoron's like, "Oh, which article are you referring to?" And then Chris Kise, Donald Trump's lawyer, said, "Oh, I believe it's a Breitbart article." And everybody in the courtroom started like laughing in mockery at Chris Kise that that's something that he would even introduce. But here, Donald Trump posts 15 facts about E. Jean Carroll's allegations against Trump and the media. And this is basically Breitbart, in my opinion, packaging defamatory statements about E. Jean Carroll through a purported journalistic lens, if you will. And then which I don't believe that at all, but that's how they're trying to package it to avoid kind of it being viewed as defamatory in nature. And then Donald Trump then kind of reposts that because on the one hand, Donald Trump can't help himself and needs to defame E. Jean Carroll, but Donald Trump is afraid, as of this point, to make a direct post about her because he thinks that he will then get sued again, which he'll probably get sued again anyway because of all the defamatory statements he made during the federal trial where he lost an $83 million verdict. And look, I think that E. Jean Carroll and her lawyers were waiting to see if an $83 million verdict would shut him up. And the fact that he's still posting this Breitbart article, and here he is posting this other article from something called the National Pulse, which says awarding $90 million to the second-rate advice columnist E. Jean Carroll will doubtless be remembered for generations as the greatest miscarriage of justice. And Donald Trump reposts that. But the fact that Donald Trump is spending his days reposting additional attacks on his rape victim who prevailed twice before two separate juries, one in May and one in the month of January of 2024, just goes to show you how deeply disturbed Donald Trump is. Here, Donald Trump attacks Nikki Haley. Donald Trump says, "Americans for No Prosperity just said that Nikki Birdbrain Haley has a steep hill to climb, almost no chance of beating Trump. I could have told you that a long time ago." And there he just calls her Birdbrain because Donald Trump is as disturbed and immature as you can absolutely be, and just an overall disgusting person. Here, Donald Trump is posting articles about him and his previous posts where he's ordered MAGA Mike Johnson, the coffee boy of his, who's the current Speaker of the House, to kill a very tough bipartisan border deal, and the toughest border deals in a generation that Democrats and Republicans on the Senate agree to. Most rational Republicans that still exist agree to this, but the MAGA contingency wants to help Donald Trump, and Donald Trump wants to run on problems at the border. He wants to run on whining about it and complaining about it and acting like a baby versus actually solving the problems. So MAGA Republicans are like, even though President Biden wants a tough border bill, even though Democrats want a tough border bill, even though reasonable Republicans do, Donald Trump doesn't, so MAGA needs to kill this bill. And Donald Trump keeps sending the message to them to kill the bill. Here he goes. Trump vows to fight border deal all the way, praises Johnson as very tough. The former president also praised House Speaker Mike Johnson for rejecting the unreleased agreement. And by the way, let me just show you this right here. This is Oklahoma Republican Senator James Lankford. Here he goes on Fox, and of course Fox is going to launder the Donald Trump talking points. So they ask Oklahoma, you don't get much more right-wing than Senator Lankford from Oklahoma, who's reached a deal with Schumer and Sinema and Romney, a very interesting group of people who forged this deal, which is, again, very, very tough on the border. And here Fox asks Lankford, why are you going to give Biden an election year victory lap? And even Lankford's like, what are you talking about? Victory lap? We have a constitutional obligation to address problems. You want us to just whine about these things? What? Here, play this clip of Senator Lankford from Oklahoma. Play this clip.
So why give him this in an election year, the cover of this deal that, critics say is still going to let a lot of people in, but he gets to take a victory lap that he's gotten something done?
Yeah, well, it's definitely not going to let a bunch of people in. It's focused on actually turning people around on it. It is interesting. Republicans 4 months ago would not give funding for Ukraine, for Israel, and for our southern border because we demanded changes in policy. So we actually locked arms together and said, we're not going to give you money for this. We want a change in law. And now it's interesting, a few months later, when we're finally getting to the end, they're like, oh, just kidding. I actually don't want a change in law because it's a presidential election year. We all have an oath to the Constitution, and we have a commitment to say we're going to do whatever we can to be able to secure the border.
And by the way, here's another clip of Senator Lankford from Oklahoma, who's, again, denying some of the false statements that are out there that under this border bill, it's like trying to invite 5,000 people to cross unlawfully through the border. It's like, that's just not what this says. Here, play this clip.
Right now, there's internet rumors is all that people are running on. It would be absolutely absurd for me to agree to 5,000 people a day. This bill focuses on getting us to 0 illegal crossings a day. There's no amnesty. It increases the number of Border Patrol agents. It increases asylum officers. It increases detention beds so we can quickly detain and then deport individuals. It ends catch and release. It focuses on additional deportation flights out. It changes our asylum process so that people get a fast asylum screening at a higher standard and then get returned back to their home country. This is not about letting 5,000 people in a day. This is the most misunderstood section of this proposal. Let me tell you briefly what it is. In the last 4 months, we've had 7 days. In 4 months, we've had 7 days that we had less than 5,000 people. This is set up for if you have a rush of people coming at the border closes down, no one gets in. This is not someone standing at the border with a little clicker saying, I'm going to let one more in. We're at 4,999, and then it has to stop. It is a shutdown of the border, and everyone actually gets turned around.
Okay.
That's the focus that we have right now, is how do we actually intervene in this administration and turn people around, not let people in.
And by the way, when someone like Senator James Lankford from Oklahoma and Chuck Schumer of New York and Mitt Romney can all reach a reasonable deal with other Democratic and Republican senators, and MAGA wants to kill that, I mean, you heard right there what this bill would actually do. But, Donald Trump and MAGA is the party of whining, the party of complaining, and they're the ones who want to cause problems. Here, Donald Trump whines about Judge Engoron. Why didn't Judge Engoron announce his decision after we proved conclusively that I did nothing wrong? No jury allowed, great financial statements, no victims, no fraud, no crimes, happy banks and insurance companies, only success and profits, and a corrupt New York State Attorney General. I mean, I could go on and just read all of this, whiny stuff. I mean, you already lost the case. I mean, the judge ruled against you for summary judgment. There are victims, and you were unjustly enriched. That's why this case is about disgorgement. And not only that, by by the way. Judge Barbara Jones, the retired judge who's the independent monitor, sent a scathing letter to Justice Arthur Engoron that you've continued to engage in the fraudulent conduct even while the lawsuit has been pending. And she's flagged a lot of inconsistent statements, erroneous statements, lack of transparency, and other problematic behavior. But in particular, one of the things that Judge Jones flagged, and I'm doing a whole other video on this, is what could be an unlawful debt parking scheme where Trump previously claimed that there was a loan between an entity called Chicago Financing LLC with himself, with the Trump organization. He's the 100% owner of the Chicago Financing LLC. And one of the things that were claimed was that there was a $48 to $50 million loan that the Chicago Financing LLC was holding, or that it made to Donald Trump. But there's actually no records of the loan happening. So what seems to have happened is when Trump sued Deutsche Bank and Fortress, who made the loan for the Chicago skyscraper, and Trump sued them back in 2008, and they forgave major portions of the debt that Donald Trump had to pay back. What Donald Trump did is he claimed that this other entity was acquiring that debt but never did so. And he did that because when you are going to have that type of debt forgiven, it's treated as income unless it's parked and serviced with another company. He was not servicing it. It didn't exist. So it was another tax avoidance scheme. It appears on paper that that's what was potentially taking place. There seems to be ongoing misconduct that was committed as well, even while the lawsuit was happening. So the same way Donald Trump continued to defame E. Jean Carroll during the defamation trial, it seems similarly during the New York Attorney General's civil fraud trial, he continued to engage in fraudulent conduct and improper financial handling of things that the independent monitor flagged for Justice Arthur Engoron as well. Here, it's just more whining. My financial statements were great. I have been unfairly sued. I mean, it's just all this whining over and over and over again. And here is Donald Trump from the weekend as well. Here he talks about getting Mexico to send 2,000, 28,000. It's just a bunch of cognitive mush here. Play this clip.
We got Mexico to send 2,000, 28,000 troops.
And here Donald Trump praises MAGA Mike Johnson for trying to block a border deal that's good for this country, and that's very tough. Here, play this clip.
I'd rather have no bill than a bad bill. A bad bill you can't have, and that's what was happening. In the House, as you know, the Speaker, who's, by the way, I think he's going to prove to be a very good speaker. It's tough when you have a very small majority. Very tough. Mike Johnson, Speaker, he just said it's dead on arrival in the House. It's dead on arrival. We want either a strong bill or no bill, and whatever happens, happens. But this is the single greatest threat to our country right now.
And here Donald Trump was bragging about how easy it was for him to take a cognitive test. He keeps talking about the cognitive test as a major part of his speech. Here, play this clip.
I said, is it tough? He said, yeah, it's a tough test. The first couple of questions are easy, like they'll have a lion, a giraffe, a whale, and a shark. And they'll say, which one's the lion, okay? And that's all the press covered, the first question. They didn't cover the last question. Multiply 4,733. Multiply times 7, divide, without paper and pencil, by the way, divide it by 4, add up another 37 and a half, 0.5, I remember that. And what's your number? How many people in this room could do it? Not too many. Or they give you 6 names in a row. I took a lot of heat on this. They give you 6 names in a row at the beginning. Sir, I'm going to give you 6 names. Good. They look at them. A chair, a hat, a badge, a necklace, and they vote. Those things. We're going to give you 6 things. And I say, good, what's going on? Can you rename them? So I name them. Then they go back, and if you can do it in order, that's even better. I do them in order, perfect. Then they come back to you 30 minutes later at the end, last question. They say, what were those 6 things? That there aren't too many people, and they laughed, everyone said, oh, that's so easy. There's only about 2% of this room can do it, but I did it. I did it very easily, but I got mocked. They said, oh, that's so easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. Go home and try doing it, okay? Go home.
So there you have it. Just more defamatory statements, more attacks, more unhinged behavior right there from Donald Trump. I'm Ben Meiselas. This is the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3 million subscribers. Thanks to your support. Have a great day.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.